everybody, I'm back. Spent a couple of weeks out west with Marie doing some shows. We were in Bozeman, Montana and Ketchum, Idaho before we came back to Michigan and did a show in Frankfurt last weekend. So I've been out of the shop for almost a month and I'm only having minor serious withdrawal. So it's been a while, but I'm back and I'm gonna see if I can't do something with this punky piece of apple. So what I think I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna turn this cross grain style, so basically like a bowl rather than end grain, so it's gonna get mounted like this, or like this, probably like this. Yeah, I'm gonna mount it like this, and these will beat the tar out of me, but I'm gonna leave them there probably. I guess first thing I'm gonna do is just get the bark off. So I am gonna see if I can kind of keep this natural edge a little bit. And I think I'm gonna stick this back in there. Yes, I know that's a live center in the headstock, and that's not going to do me much good except for when I'm balancing. Alright, so just kind of go in the middle. I think I might just go with this on the spur drive, just in case, you know, some of this is so rotted in here, so most of this weight is going to come off. And then if I, you know, once I kind of get rid of these things and see what the profile is going to look like, I can still change the axis if I want to. And I think it's balanced well enough that I shouldn't have too much trouble with it, so. I used the center point from the Forstner bit and seated the spur drive, and then I took it out and with a chisel I sort of widened and elongated the slots where the prongs are going to go for the drive spur, and then set it back in with a hammer, and then am going to finish seating it with the tailstock. Because I widened the slots already with a chisel, I didn't do a whole lot of working on it while it was on the lathe. I got the tailstock up tight, I locked the spindle, and then I rocked the workpiece back and forth just a little bit to widen those slots up a tiny bit more and just get that spur drive seated in there as far as I could get it. So stick a pin in this, it's going to be a problem for me later. Well, I'm going to use my biggest gouge, which is a 5/8 Thompson. And I'm going to start out, I have this on the lower gear set, so there's more torque. So I'm going to start out here out of the way. Make sure we're not hitting anything. Just let that bark fly off.
I don't really have a shape in mind. I just knew that I wanted to basically take an entire log and turn it into a bowl or some kind of a vessel-y thing. So the beginning part, I'm just looking at gathering some information and seeing what I've got to work with and how much of this is going to be solid. And then once I kind of get it rounded off, I can have a better idea of what I might be able to do with it ultimately. I got this apple, I believe, in the spring of 2019, which was when I first started turning. And I had just bought basically an apple crate of prunings from one of the orchards out in Ludington, which is about an hour away from where I live. I'm not sure how dry they were when I bought them. I don't know how long ago that they had been pruned. Some of them were, really gray and looked like they may have been from the year before, and some of them were newer. This has just been sitting under cover here for, I guess, 3 years now, so it's pretty dry. The piece that I cut this out of was probably about 3 feet long total. I really like to just make these little step cuts in the side when I'm trying to figure out what sort of shape I'm going to have. It keeps me from taking out too much material at a time, and it just gives me a way to visualize the potential, curves and overall shape. It's looking pretty gnarly, but I am liking it. I think this is going to be really cool. I go back and forth between my 5/8 bowl gouge with a 60-degree swept back grind on it and a 1/2 inch bowl gouge with a 40/40 grind on it. I really like both of them. To me, it's like finish and everything else. I don't want to tie myself to one particular finish or bowl gouge size or grind or whatever. Sometimes things work better for one project than another, and there's no reason not to have multiple options in your arsenal. I'm preparing the bottom for a glue block, and when I get it flat, then I want to go back over it and make sure that the center is just a hair concave.
Oh my gosh, you guys. All right, so in the meantime, I made a glue block, which might be a little bit long, but this was all that I had that was really thicker than 5/4. So hopefully it's gonna be all right. I've got 2-inch screws in here. So I've got this mounted on the glue block, and it actually sat overnight. Okay, never mind. We're gonna just leave this on there because I can't get it off. I don't suppose I really have to drill a hole in this for any reason. I can just do it with the gouge because I'm not messing with this right now. I'm mad about it. This thing's being a jerk. No, I didn't get it quite uncentered, but it's not bad. I didn't record making the glue block because I had to make the whole thing. But if you are interested in using a glue block, and you want to use CA glue, then I recommend going to Lyle Jamison's channel and watching his instructional videos on making a glue block using Starbond thick CA glue. If you want to use hot glue, then check out Jim Sprague at Sprague Woodturning, and he has like a big electric skillet full of hot melt glue, and then he dips it in and then mounts it. So if you want actual instructions on how to do that, those two guys I would recommend watching to do this. Okay. Let us see if we can make some progress here. Knock these off. Or try.
This is a good example of not being tied to one method or tool. Sometimes a negative rake scraper can give you a better finish than a gouge, depending upon what you're doing with it. In this case, I tried a very sharp negative rake scraper, and it didn't do very much for the tear out. And then I tried using that as a shear scraper, and it still didn't do much for the tear out. On this particular piece of wood, the gouge left me a smoother surface as far as tear out goes. So that's the one that I'm going to pick.
Again, lines, but I think I can sand those lines out way easier than the tear out. So there's a little bit, obviously, here and there, but you know, that's just how it's going to be with something like this.
This blank does a lot of singing throughout the hollowing process. There are cracks and some holes and a couple of soft spots that are of a way different density than the rest of the wood. So when it starts making all of that racket, it's vibration, and that's coming from the fact that the wood is not actually solid. I'm trying to get the bulk of the material removed for the first couple of inches using a regular flat round carbide hollowing tool, and then also my 5/8 bowl gouge with a 60-degree grind on it. And once I get a little bit of that out of the way, I don't want to go too far, then I'm going to get my hollowing system out and do the very edge up to the correct thickness, and then I'll just go back and forth between the hollowing system and the other tools, because it's a lot faster to hog out the center stuff with the gouge or the full-size carbide. The carbide disc that is on the hollowing system is very efficient, but it's also pretty small.
All right, the hollowing process is coming along. Slow, but I'm getting there. I knew that this was going to come out, and I actually wanted it to, so I'm glad about that. However, because I'm not done hollowing, I'm hollowed to, well, just past here is about the right thickness. I'm still working on this here. But I don't want to lose this. I don't want this to break out completely. So I'm going to put some medium thick brown Starbond in here to just hold this together while I finish hollowing.
I've also seen people use tape to hold things together while they're hollowing it out.
All right.
You see the difference in using the hollowing system, which has a captured bar, versus me just using a carbide hollower. You can see how much leverage there is. And I have a curved tool rest, so I'm able to get that in the piece pretty far. And the tool is supported within an inch or two of the edge, which is well within its range, but it still wants to bounce around a lot.
I think we got a little vibration going on here. All right, we're getting there. I'm gonna keep hollowing. I'll bring you guys back when I'm done, because this is boring.
All right, I got it hollowed out and I sanded it up until 320. I couldn't get the inside very well, but I'm just not going to worry about it. It's smooth. So, you know, there's still tear out in there, but that's just too bad. So I've got a coat of 1 pound shellac on, and then I'm using Brad's sanding paste. Using abrasive pastes and any kind of finish that has a wax in it, or that you need to have the speed of the lathe up high to create friction for heat, is a little bit tricky on a piece like this where you've got voids and stuff, but I use my little dish scrubby and get it just to where it's touching. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be pushing down on it real hard. You just need it to be in contact with the wood so that the friction will heat up. Got to do a little bit of the work yourself, get in all of the little nooks and crannies, and then pick the little bits of paper towel out of wherever they happen to get stuck. This piece wasn't too bad. And on to the finish, and my final finish is going to be Brad's tongue wax. I'm actually waiting on some of his tongue honey. I would like to give that a shot too. It's a little thinner. But in the meantime, I'm going to use this. I really like the sheen that it gives. I like that it has tung oil in it so that it will penetrate into the wood and cure, plus the carnauba wax. Same thing goes here. I've got the dish scrubby, and I'm just trying to keep the paper towel in contact with the wood so that the friction will heat up the wax and melt it. And the purpose of the dish scrubby is just to give me something to hold on to. It's soft and it can sort of just bounce around in the contours. But if one of those holes or voids grabbed that, it's not going to get my fingers. It's going to take that dish scrubby and throw that across the room. You know, I keep it, I hold onto it tight enough to not lose it, but not tight enough that if it got hung up, that it's going to take me with it. In parting this off of the glue block, I made sure to leave myself enough room at the bottom that I could get at least 2 kerf's width of a parting tool in there so that the parting tool doesn't bind up. So meet Jack. He thought briefly about being a pumpkin, but that just didn't work out this time, so I'm going to file that away, and at some point here in the not too distant future we are going to do some pumpkins. But for right now we're just going to have this guy, and this is just Applejack. And I think he turned out pretty darn cool. And next up is your little bit of Bailey, and this is from our trip out west.
Did you find a stick? You're such a cutie. I think that one is attached still. No, maybe not. Gonna get it? You're a good boy, Bailey. This is, if you guys would stop looking into the bushes for birds, we could actually do some hiking. Jeez.
We did manage to wear him out.
What are you doing over here in the grass with your pig?
It's a beagle burrito.
This is not a good place for you to hang out, dude. The beagle wants to play with you. How about you go find somewhere else?
Is that a squirrel? Is there a squirrel up there taunting you? That's not very nice, is it?
Beagling is very hard work.
The other problem that I had is that, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this or not. Let me tip this camera down while I'm doing this. And hopefully I remember to put it back. Okay, so I love my Laguna lathe. The only issue that I've ever had with it has had to do with the tailstock. Laguna has been fantastic about getting me the things to fix it. I have replaced the spindle, actually I still have the spindle, because basically the set screw that holds the hand wheel on won't be still. I think that the problem is just with this particular live center. I don't have any issues with any of my other ones. They all eject fine. This one does not want to eject if you've put any pressure on it at all with the hand wheel, which I did, of course, because I had this on a spur drive. So now this thing is stuck. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm just sliding this set screw back. That's not doing anything. I've tried to hit it out with the knockout bar, but I was using a dead blow hammer. I'm gonna use a big ball peen and see if I can get this thing to come out of here. Actually, no, I'm gonna move that a little bit closer so that if it does come out, because the last time I had to beat this thing out, it went flying across the room, of course, so. Come on. Did you go? Too close, can't see. No. Ah. Well, I guess for today, it's just gonna stay in there. It's annoying as all hell. All right, guess I should fix this again. So, you guys probably can't see that from any of the angles. I just run out of rope before it wants to self-eject. And I've tried prying it by putting, yeah, see, I've got that thing a little bit goobered up there. Anyway, I've tried to pry it off by wedging things between here. See if I can get it to just self-eject, but it usually just pushes just breaks the wood.
So now I gotta figure out how to get the tailstock out. If you guys have any ideas, you can let me know. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Y'all be safe out there.